Alien Update number 4. Welcome back. This week, we have more updates on the upcoming UAP Task Force report from the government. More stories on the scientific search for alien life. UFO interest going global, and more sightings. Let's get into it. Our first story is from Donna Miller, writing for Grunt Stuff. Details leaked. Pentagon report mentions unidentified UFOs. Just reading the title, I don't think anybody would be surprised. But in the article, she talks about 2 photographs that will also be released in the report. One is of a cube-shaped vehicle. The photograph was taken off the east coast of the U.S. in 2018. The second photo was from 2019 of a triangular craft. The picture is said to be extremely clear. The other crazy inclusion in the report will be the statement, objects might be operated by intelligences of unknown origin. Currently, the report is expected by June 25th. I'm sure there'll be plenty of bombshells included. Our next story is from Jazz Shaw for Hot Air. The Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, and the upcoming UAP Task Force report. The report is now expected on June 25th. There is no direct quote from the DNI, but she will be directly involved in the report. The article discusses pleas made to the Director of National Intelligence to demand transparency for these issues. It also discusses a movement called the Big Phone Home. It's scheduled for April 24th. People from around the country will call and write their elected officials demanding transparency for the upcoming report. Our next story by Ankel Nagan for Republic World. It's titled, Taken Over by Aliens, Cryptic Tweet from U.S. Nuclear Command's account baffles Netzians. A tweet on March 29th on the official Twitter account of the U.S. Strategic Command had people concerned. The tweet was a random sequence of letters. Later, a second tweet was released asking people to disregard the first tweet. People speculated if this was aliens, a cat running across the keyboard, or the U.S. nuclear launch codes. It has long been reported that UFOs visit nuclear launch sites and interfere with their controls and operations. Perhaps the aliens just figured out Twitter. Our next story is from George Knapp and Duncan Phoenix for Mystery Wire. It's titled 2020 UFO Sightings Spike During Lockdown. Due to the pandemic, a massive statistical analysis shows people were looking for UFOs much more than usual, which resulted in a spike of UFO sightings. Was this because of people's increased free time or increased UFO traffic? Our next story is from SUAS News. They report the opening of Swiss Competence Center for UFO activities. The Swiss Air Navigation Services company Skyguide is opening Switzerland's first center of competence for UFOs. The perceived increase in sightings of UFOs in the airspace controlled by Skyguide has prompted the opening of the center. The center will have a control tower for specialized air traffic controllers. The workforce has received extensive training. It seems interest in UFOs stretches outside the U.S. In another international story from New Zimbabwe, we learn of a UFO sighting that knocked a man off his motorcycle. Richmond Mayumbo was on his way home around 9 a.m. when he saw strange lights traveling in the sky. The lights were accompanied by a deafening sound which knocked him off of his motorcycle. So these things are not just happening in the U.S., they are global. Our next story is from Amy Graff, writing for SF Gate. Remote Northern California site gets huge upgrade to search for alien life. The Allen Telescope Array at Hat Creek Radio Observatory in eastern Shasta County is a 42-dish radio telescope. It scans the skies looking for radio signals from alien civilizations. It is managed by SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. The upgrades to the dishes will improve the sensitivity of each dish and upgrade the computer system. With more sky being scanned faster, the search for alien life should be successfully completed sooner. In a story by Carolyn Delbert for PopularMechanic, she discusses new research by scientists that speculate that Earth was formed by a massive collision by two celestial bodies. The rogue planet which caused the collision was called Theia, and it is believed that in this collision the moon was also formed. The scientists claim pieces of this rogue planet are still present in the Earth's interior. They call these pieces continent-sized, large, low shear velocity provinces. Quite the mouthful. But perhaps these areas in the Earth's interior are what the UFOs have been looking for. Our next story is from popinquirer.net. In the story, we learn that mysterious radio signals in the universe are not from aliens. If you have ever heard of fast radio bursts, this is what the article is talking about. They happen more than 1,000 times every day. The research team, led by Dr. Hashimoto from the Institute for Astronomy, NTHU, looked at the history and the timeline of both repeating and non-repeating fast radio bursts and concluded that non-repeating FRBs are from white dwarf stars and repeating FRBs are from magnetars or neutron stars with strong magnetic fields. So unfortunately, they are not from aliens. In a somewhat quirky story from Nirmal Narayanan, writing for IB Times, titled Aliens Visited Earth, 15th Century Madonna Painting featuring UFO sparks debate. The UFO blogger Scott Waring noticed in the Madonna and Child infant St. John portrait, likely from the year 1480, looks to contain a UFO added by the artist. It does not appear to be a smudge or possible distortion to the painting because in the portrait it can be seen a man and his dog pointing to the UFO. Pretty interesting. The article contains a picture. Check it out for yourself. Perhaps aliens aren't just global, but also historical. Our last story for this week is an interesting one. From Cameron Frew, writing for Unilad. NASA astronaut claims to have seen snake floating in Earth's atmosphere. Franklin Story Musgrave claims that on 2 separate occasions he saw an 8-foot snake in space. He said it would follow them for a rather long time. He believes there are creatures, organisms, and civilizations in space. He also said it could have been a rubber seal from the main engine. I'd have to lean towards that one. That's it for this week. Please like, subscribe, and share to help grow the channel. And as always, you can find the links to all the articles in the description below. And if you have any experiences with UFOs that you would like to discuss and be interviewed for, email us at alienupdateyt@gmail.com. Tune in next week, and let's find the truth together.